welcome back to Well Played, presented by The Skim. I'm Caroline Hendershot.
And I'm Claudia Rupcich, and I am so excited to be here. I'm filling in for Blake Morgan, who's still traveling in Japan. No big deal. But I'm so excited to finally see you virtually and to be part of the show one more time.
I know, we're so happy to have you. Blake's trip, I'm sure you've been following along too. It has looked insane, like the most amazing trip. I'm so jealous of her. But we're so happy to have you. So it's been a while since you were a co-host on Well Played. The last time you were here was week 1 of the NFL season. So why don't you fill everyone in on what you do here at The Skim, what you've been up to?
It's been a minute. It feels like 8 years ago. So much has happened. Your girl's been busy. I do a lot, or I did a lot last year, but this year focusing mainly on the parenting newsletter that goes out once a month. And then very soon we are relaunching the Well Played newsletter. So get excited. So make sure also you're signed up for the Daily Skim. You'll get all the deets there. And you can also follow me on Instagram at Claudia Rupcich. Caroline, what about you? What are your handles?
You can follow me at CG Hendy. I have been very slacking in my posting, probably much to, I know, producer Sean's dismay. But it was just like the holidays came and went so fast. And it was, I know like people had time off, but the NFL season obviously was still going on. So I was booked and busy. But it was just like a blink of an eye and then it was over, I feel like. And everyone that I know was like, no, it was so long. We got such a nice break. Blah, blah, blah. I was like,
you're like, what? What's a break?
Can't relate.
But also people want to see what you're up to. And I know it's true. Like even when you work, cutting the clips and like posting what you're doing is like another job itself.
No, totally.
So I feel you. It's like you have to go back and cut and post. So, but
also I can't be an influencer for the life of me because I forget to film things. So like when Blake did her day in the life of filming an episode of Well Played, it was great.
It was
and
awesome.
I was like, how did you remember to film everything? Because I will start. There's so many drafts of mine where I've filmed, the first couple videos. And then it's just
then it's just you in the studio. It's like, wait, how'd you get there? What happened?
Exactly.
But you can imagine.
Right. I'm just connect the dots.
You need to make it you don't do that every day, but one time do it. Or can you get a photog to get some behind the scenes footage?
Right, yeah. I need someone to do it of me because they have
you're not
going
to do it yourself. Totally. Be just once a week, let's get this footage. People love to see that stuff, especially when you're on the sidelines, on camera, how does that work? What do you do? So give us what we want.
I know. Really dropped the ball with that one. But you know what? Maybe I'll set alarms throughout the day that I plan to do one. So it's every 15 minutes, it's alarm, take a video. Maybe that would help me. I don't know.
Let's see how let us know
desperate for any tips and tricks.
Okay. We'll see. We'll just all, how Blake does, we'll just all DM you a million times a day and be like, what are you doing?
There you go. Even better. All right, everyone, be sure to check out this episode on YouTube. Search Well Played by The Skim. As always, we've prepared a roundup of our favorite stories dominating your feeds this week. It's time for Playing the Field. We begin Playing the Field with a story out of South Florida about not one, but 2 different star players who are literally playing the field and looking to get out of their current situations and land on new teams. I am, of course, talking about the Miami Heat's Jimmy Butler and Miami Dolphins receiver Tyreek Hill.
Oh, cheetah. In case you missed it, Jimmy Butler, who took the team to 2 different finals appearances in the past 5 years, was suspended by the team for 7 games. He publicly said he no longer believed he could feel joy playing for the Heat. And then the front office now is openly fielding trade offers for Butler.
Going to it back. I'm happy here, off the court. But I want to be back to somewhat dominant. I want to hoop. And I want to help this team win. Right now, I'm not doing that.
Can you get your joy back here on the court?
Probably not.
Meanwhile, a similar situation has developed in the Dolphins organization. So following the team's loss on Sunday to the Jets, Tyreek Hill went in front of cameras and said he's ready to move on. And here's what he had to say.
That's wherever the case may be, man. I'm finna open that door for myself, dog. As I'm opening the door, I'm out, bro. So it was great playing here, but at the end of the day, bro, I got to do what's best for for my career and, what's best. Because I'm too much of a competitor to be, just out there.
I mean, you thinking about leaving here?
If it ain't, hey,
So, Caroline, you were at this game, and Hill sat out the fourth quarter. After the game, Coach Mike McDaniels had an interview, and they asked him, like, what happened there? And he said Hill was unavailable, but not because of an injury. So we're not exactly sure what happened. It was definitely odd. So I'm wondering, since you were there, did you notice anything weird going on? Like, what happened?
Well, okay, so there was so much happening, like, at one time,
in general,
and in life. But I'm a notoriously bad multitasker. But I did notice. I was like, wait, why isn't he in the game? I don't think I saw him get hurt. And then I knew that he had been on the injury report list that week for, I think, a wrist. So I was like, oh, maybe it's bothering him again, whatever. And I do radio in game, so I know our radio play-by-play guy was like, Tyreek Hill's not on the field. We don't have any.
So everyone was confused.
Yeah. He was like, we don't have any injury update for you. So everyone was like a little just like, what's going on? But then, I think the Jets then scored like 2 more touchdowns. So, then it got distracted, whatever.
Yeah. We saw. It was a terrible game for the Dolphins.
Claudia's not happy. She's clearly a Dolphins fan.
Just a little bit.
So how do you feel about these franchise players forcing their team's hand with public statements like this?
Well, I can tell you what everyone in South Florida is thinking, which is like, damn it. It's so frustrating. I mean, these are 2 like amazing players, and I think they're very different. So Jimmy Butler, I think, is just being more Jimmy Butler. I think when he said like, I want to find joy in the game again, it was like, damn, like it was extreme, like really extreme to hear, but I don't think he's going anywhere. I think also I just read a statement saying that like the Heat still want him to play. Like he has a $50 million contract this year.
Right.
And his suspension's going to be up and they expect him to play. I just wonder if he's going to keep doing what he was doing, which is like not at all adding any value to the team. So
right.
I think it's very frustrating. In the Tyreek Hill side, I can understand at the moment after you lose this is the only time he's ever not gone to the playoffs.
I was just about to say that. Yeah.
And so like I can understand why he was like done with this. Like this sucks. And like I feel like it's kind of almost expected from Cheetah. But what I thought was super interesting, because people were like, oh, he's quitting on the team. Like, does he not care? Is he just over it? And then people were comparing him to Antonio Brown. And you probably remember a couple years ago when he like just walked out from the Bucks game and he like took off his pads.
Also at home at MetLife Stadium against the Jets. There might be a common denominator there.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, something about the Jets pisses people off. So anyway, he like took his whole thing off and walked away like, shirtless. And Tyreek changed his profile picture and photoshopped his head on top of Antonio Brown's body, kind of like nodding to like, oh, maybe I did walk out. Like, I don't know. Tyreek Hill loves to like, talk some ish and like get people talking. So I think he's serious about exploring other options. I think it's super frustrating that like this is his first time like on the field facing like adversity. Adversary, is that the word?
Adversity.
Help me.
Adversity.
English is hard. So I don't know. I don't know if it means like they're truly both out. And also it's not like they could just walk away. They need to be traded. And that's not as easy as it sounds.
Totally. I think that, so I think like a lot of factors went into Tyreek Hill. One of which being this was like the first season that he didn't hit like not even 1,000 yards, but like 1,700. He usually is like well above 1,000 receiving yards. And then he also wasn't all pro this year. Like Tua obviously was out for some games, their quarterback, and now again is out for more games. But I just think that, he wasn't, the level of play wasn't there this year. But I will say Micah Parsons from the Cowboys has a podcast, and he went on and was saying, like, I don't blame Tyreek Hill at all for saying that because coaches leave for better situations all the time, which is a totally fair point to bring up. Like, I completely agree. But I do think that, like, quitting on your team in the fourth quarter just because you guys know you're not going to make it to the playoffs is, like, a bad look. Will that affect whoever wants to pick him up in, like, the offseason? Probably not, because he's Tyreek Hill and he's super fast and incredible at football. So that probably won't have any play, but I just don't think it's a good look.
Yeah, it's a horrible look. And then changing your profile picture to, like, the meme of Antonio Brown, which has has not worked in the NFL since and has a bad rep for this reason. Like, dude, like, come on. Like, if you want to work somewhere else, like, at least, like, keep your resume tight and, like, keep your image
I know.
looking
Do you
good.
think that this is going to lead to, like, more players kind of publicly demanding trades, or do you think it might end up having some backlash?
I don't think so. And I don't think... I'm curious to see if Tyreek Hill goes anywhere.
I know.
I mean, I do understand why the Dolphins aren't looking. It's just so frustrating. I feel like for the longest time, Miami, and I want to make sure we're saying South Florida, because South Florida is not Florida. Florida is South Florida is its own little state. Okay, has been such a destination, and we've had a really good job bringing in talent, and I don't think this is a shift in that. I hope not, especially for the Heat has I think strong leadership. I just think it's funny that the Panthers are our team now are the only national champions for which when I was growing up, the Panthers were god awful. We paid $4 to go see them play. And it's just so interesting the way things shift. But I don't think there's
swings, baby.
Yeah, I don't think this is gonna be the end to Miami sports.
Yeah, I'd be surprised, honestly.
Moving on to a more serious and less fun story to discuss here. We have to talk about the allegations against Fox Sports in a recent workplace misconduct lawsuit that was filed in California.
The lawsuit, which was brought by a former Fox Sports hairstylist, Nasheen Faraji, alleges several instances of sexual harassment from former FS1 host Skip Bayless and Fox Sports executive Charlie Dixon, as well as insensitive comments by current FS1 host Joy Taylor.
It was tough reading this one.
Yeah.
So Fox Sports did put out a really brief comment saying only that, quote, "We take these allegations seriously and have no further comment at this time given this pending litigation. But let's get into some of the things that are alleged in this suit." First, Skip Bayless allegedly offered Faraji $1.5 million for sex. He also accused her of having a sexual relationship with his then co-host, Shannon Sharp, which she denies. And he continued to proposition her over and over during the course of years, even though she says she clearly rejected his advances.
Yeah, years. Faraji also alleges harassment from Dixon, who she says groped her at Joy Taylor's birthday party. And this was following a series of events which she claims Taylor engaged in an affair with Dixon in order to secure her on-air role. And after Faraji told Taylor about the groping and harassment, she says Taylor told her to, quote, "get over it."
And the list of allegations continues. Faraji also recounts stories of being verbally abused over her ethnicity by an anonymous employee over the company. She said she reported it to HR and it still continued. She also talks about another employee verbally harassing her without any consequences. So it just goes on and on. So Caroline, my first question is, when you saw this, were you surprised? If not, why? And just what did you think?
Yeah, I guess I'm naive to say that I was surprised, because I just thought that post the Me Too movement, workplaces had figured this out a lot better. And apparently that's not the case. And the thing that I brought up where I was like, oh my God, it happened last year. It was as
it's recent,
little as 2023. These accusations were being reported as taking place then. I was shocked, because I was like, how is this still going on in this day and age? How have we not figured out a better system in place to protect people and women in the workplace? It blew my mind. What did you think?
Oh, totally. Well, it's just, I was shocked by how detailed it was, and also all of the names included. So a lot of times they don't name, you don't name so many employees. So clearly, in this allegation, she was fed up. She wanted to name everyone and everything that happened to her, and it goes on. And there's several things that are being claimed. But I guess I'm not as naive. I'm always shocked because I don't want to believe it. I'm like, God, how is this a thing?
Yeah.
And for years, but I just think it goes to show how things can go unreported forever, because people are kind of it's kind of the way it is. You know what I mean? This is just the status quo. And if you want to have your job and kind of stay here, then you got to kind of put up with some stuff here and there. But it's not just some stuff here and there. It adds up, and it's horrible. So it's always so frustrating and disturbing to read. I'm curious if anyone else will make a statement, because we haven't really heard from anyone else, and what kind of investigation they're going to really do.
I was going to add that, because I went and was looking at all of the individuals who had been named in the suit. I went and looked up their social media to see if they had posted anything. A lot of them, Skip Bayless, for example, carrying on as normal.
As
like
normal,
no
yeah.
comment, is just
Right.
like still tweeting about sports, like almost
Yes.
ignoring that this lawsuit's even happening. And otherwise other people have just been quiet. So I was really shocked by that. I also, this is like the last point I'll kind of say, I'm just like disappointed that when Fraji went and sought out kind of help to Joy Taylor
HR.
or whoever,
Oh, yeah.
HR, like whoever she went and kind of expressed these accusations to, no one
There was
seemed
nothing.
to help her. Yeah.
Right.
So it wasn't even like she just was swallowing it and like letting it happen. It was like she was actively telling people and no one was helping her. So that was
Right.
a big
and
sticking point for me too.
That's the whole thing. She alleges that she was very clear about what she didn't want, and that when she did ask for help, there was nothing there, which makes it 1,000 times worse, because the whole point of having an HR department is to protect the employees, and sometimes they protect the wrong, some employees and not all. So we obviously don't know all of the details, and I am curious to see what comes out of this and what statements come out and what the investigation and brings. So we'll see.
I'm really awaiting the statements of the people in the lawsuit who were named to like have some sort of statement. But I guess we'll see. All right, next up on Playing the Field, WNBA star Caitlin Clark made headlines this week with her comments about how to fix declining NBA viewership.
Ouch. Clark was on Travis and Jason Kelsey's New Heights podcast this past week. And so they asked her, what do you think is happening? Why do you think people are losing interest in the NBA? And here's what she had to say.
Well, let's ask this. What are your suspicions potentially as to why the NBA ratings would be down?
Honestly, I feel like the average just basketball fan doesn't understand how good NBA players are, and they think it looks like they're not trying. I promise you they're trying. They're just so good. That's why it looks like they're not trying. And obviously the physicality of the league has changed a lot, and I wasn't around when it was much more physical, and maybe people want more beef and physicality, and people think it's gotten soft, but I think that's also because the skill has just changed, and that's what's great about basketball.
In addition to her comments about how people want more physicality in the sport, she also said she likes the idea of a 4-point line, not a 3-point, 4-point. So what do we think? Does Caitlin have a point about why interest in watching the NBA has slipped in the past couple of years?
First of all, I would love to see her. I know we're talking about the NBA, but I think she's
Incredible.
heck yeah, because she likes a good challenge, and I would love to see that too. I also really liked her point about she talked about how people, the average fan doesn't realize how talented these players are, the NBA players are, and you're just watching them they don't seem to be putting as much heart into the game. And she's like, these guys are amazing, and their technique is up here. And so when people talk about physicality or they want more aggression, it's well, the game changes, the style of play changes. And she's right. I'm less than an average fan because I don't know as much, but even I'm I can see why you'd get kind of caught up in well, this isn't that exciting anymore. But it's
right.
Why don't you go out there and look what, just try. I mean, it's it
Just
takes
attempt.
Steph Curry for you to be yay, but when all of these players are just sick,
Yeah, I think it's also hard because it's the physicality has lessened. I know she said this because the skill level has gotten better.
Right.
So that is an aspect that I think people have to take into account, is just what you're watching is actually a better product.
Right.
It's not less physical in a bad way. It's actually in a good way.
It's not because they're not trying as hard. You know what I mean? It's because they're working on these skill sets, detailed technique to master it. And so there is less need for physicality. I also thought they mentioned should we have one a hockey fight? Should we have one hockey fight a game? And then and she's 2 minutes in the penalty box, go back in. It's great. Love it.
Yeah. There's something where I think you can't change the sport. Right? Yeah. At its core. You can't change it to make it more exciting. A 4-point line though, that might be a nice solve, because
I think it'd be fun. I obviously don't think it's gonna happen, but it would be fun to see how players react and how I don't know. They're so good, but that's a feat.
Yeah. I will say two things for me. I was scarred by working on Sports Center at night when my first job out of college at ESPN, when I would cut NBA games for the highlights that would go on Sports Center at night.
Yeah.
And that is why I don't watch the NBA as much anymore, because
you were scarred.
I was scarred because you would create a whole like timeline, right, of the game, picking out like the most important plays. Okay. And then with 2 minutes left in the game, everything would change. It would be like someone would go on like a massive scoring run, or someone would just like come out of the woodwork in like the last 5 minutes. And then it was just like, okay, I have to scrap everything. I have to then create an entire new highlight. Now my highlight that was supposed to go at the end of the show is going to be at the beginning of the show. So now I have even less time. So it's just a little bit of PTSD for me. So that is the one thing where I need
so funny because
protect my peace.
The average viewer is here for that. You know what I mean?
Yes,
like the
last
2 minutes, and you're just like, nope, can't handle it.
I'm like, anxiety, I'm good. I can't go back there.
Maybe it'll take some time for you to recover, and then you can enjoy it.
And then I'll be able. Exactly. I'll be able to be a true fan. I do think, though, that and I don't necessarily know what to credit this to, but the NFL is just like such a king that I think like we really saw that on Christmas Day with like the viewership, because usually Christmas Day was like the NBA's day and they would have the full slate of games and everyone would watch NBA. And then this past Christmas, when we had some games on Netflix for the NFL, the viewership was like 5 times or like 3 times the amount of the NBA games. So it was like, I just think too now that the NFL is kind of expanding in this way, it's almost making it even harder to compete. So
That's interesting. So you think they're competing against, that is super interesting. Because you'd think an NBA fan is an NBA fan and they'll find a time. They're not, but that's a good point. Especially if your team is, especially this time of year, it's just like,
I know.
It's hard. You want to watch them all, even if it's not your team.
And it's tougher too because like they have a longer season. So not that like their games each game doesn't matter as much, but it's almost as if like the amount of games, there can be more room for error. So there can be more room for losses than wins or whatever. Versus the NFL, there's only 17 games. So you have to kind of be on each week.
You're not going to miss one. It's like, I make fun of that for baseball. Like my husband is obsessed with the Braves and there's like, I don't know, I really don't know the number, but there's like 100,000 games a year.
Yes,
so I'm like, they lost this one. Don't worry, they play tomorrow and the day after. And they're like,
yes.
But no,
I know it's same with hockey. It's just like, oh my God, there's so many games that it's like, it really comes like later in the season where people, I think, are more invested
closer
in
to
it.
Tournament time. Yeah. Totally.
Which I think they tried to solve with the in-season tournament, but I don't know how that has really helped people.
Played out. Yeah, I think people, well, New Heights, what's his name?
Jason or Travis?
Jason was like not into that. So.
Oh yeah, he hates it. Also the court, I think he hated the court specifically.
I thought that was hilarious because I agree. What is going on? I like cannot focus. I'm like, I'm sorry, what the hell? Why is that blinding me?
I already like can't see straight. So it's just like don't throw more obstacles in my path, okay? I need it to be so obvious when I'm watching sports. Funny. Like, come on.
I don't think you're alone though. Like I was distracted heavily. So I don't know. You know. Let's brainstorm this.
Quick note, producer Sean did just say that Christmas Day viewership for the NFL was about 6 times.
6 times.
As much as the NBA. Yeah. Insane.
Well, yeah. Okay.
So, tough. Alrighty. The NFL regular season just came to a close, and you know what that means? It's recoupling season for franchises looking to hire a new head coach. It's basically Love Island NFL edition. And
here for it.
Several bombshell candidates have just entered the villa. In case you missed it, the Patriots parted ways with first-year head coach Gerard Mayo. The Jaguars said goodbye to Doug Peterson, and yet somehow the Giants decided to stick with head coach Brian Daboll and GM Joe Schoen, despite a rocky couple of months together.
And across the way in Jets territory, the team is looking for someone to fill the vacancy left by Robert Saleh, and the Bears offer suitors an enticing opportunity in Chicago. Oh, and don't forget about the Saints, who dismissed Dennis Allen earlier this season. Top candidates include Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, who looks like he may be putting all his eggs in one bear-shaped basket, Mike Vrabel, who may be grafting on a familiar suitor, and according to reports, Rex Ryan, who may be looking to recouple with his former team, the Jets. So let's start with the Jets, Caroline, a team you may or may not care about. Which names have you been floating around for the team, and is Rex Ryan really one of them?
Rex Ryan is really one of them, which is crazy. I'm going to read a list of the coaches that NFL insider Adam Schefter tweeted out yesterday as like the request list to interview from the Jets. So it starts with Mike Vrabel and Ron Rivera, who they have interviewed already. Then it goes into Rex Ryan, Brian Flores, Josh McCown, Joe Brady, Matt Nagy, Arthur Smith, Brian Griese, Aaron Glenn, Vance Joseph, Bobby Slowick, as well as interim head coach Jeff Ulbrich. So a lot of candidates. They're casting a very wide net. Yes. But yeah, Rex Ryan is actually one of them. I would just like to point out the level of confidence this man has is incredible because the fact that he said, like, I think I'm going to get the job. I'm the best fit for the job.
I was going to say, didn't he say he's it?
Yeah, he has confidence that I aspire to have, you know? So,
so you don't think there's any like actual concrete like basis for that? He's just like, oh, I got this.
No, I just think that like he believes in himself as as the best idea and the best candidate for the job, particularly because he has coached the Jets before.
Right.
So I would assume that almost every coach walks into a head coach interview, whether you're a coordinator trying to interview for a head coaching position or whatever, and thinking you're the best man for the job. Yeah. Because otherwise, why would you even interview for it?
Right.
You know? So, we will see what that all entails. But the Jets are also looking for a GM position. So I think that there's a lot at play. There's a lot of factors there. So it's going to be interesting. But the aspect that I am really intrigued by is the Patriots firing Gerard Mayo after one season.
I know.
Which is tough because Robert Kraft came out and was like, I put him in an untenable situation. I feel really guilty. I feel bad. I've known him for like over 17 years. And
wasn't he like handpicked to be like, you know, so why? So that's funny. I didn't see that he kind of apologized for it. Like he feels bad.
Yeah, he feels bad, but he also knows like, I think everyone in the Patriots organization knows when you were kind of a dynasty for so long, there is a different type of sense of urgency over there. Yeah. So that's tough. Now, I know that the Jets, one of the coaches that they interviewed already was Mike Vrabel. He played for the Patriots, so that open position now, that's gonna be enticing to him at least.
I think it makes sense. I love this.
I know there's a lot of off-season question marks, obviously every year, but the coaching carousel is always very interesting to see who ends up where, what offensive coordinators or defensive coordinators kind of make the jump. Right. But yeah, it's so interesting at the end of every season to see where and how things shake out.
Well, you've got the insight over there, so let us know what you're hearing.
I really wish I like actually knew any like insider information, but honestly, I'd probably listen to Shefty because I think his ear is closer to the sources.
He's got all the sources.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
And okay, we can't like talk about the Jets without talking about Aaron Rodgers. So is he leaving the villa altogether? Is he staying put, heading to Casa Amor to find a new pairing, or just going home permanently? I mean, what do you think?
Okay, this is another thing where there's so many factors at play that it's so hard to kind of even guess, I would say, because
what do you think?
Because he has said multiple times, you know, the Jets are obviously looking for a new GM and a new head coach. So that is a factor.
Right.
Then he said, you know, I need to take a break after this season because I feel like I have been kind of rehabbing from his Achilles injury that happened way back when. And by way back when, I mean in 2023. And but he's been rehabbing from that since then. So he just feels like, you know, it's very like mentally taxing when you're rehabbing from an injury. I have found. So I think like he needs a little bit of a break. He doesn't know if he wants to even play next year, he's said. So I think it's like a whole culmination of factors of where will we see Aaron Rodgers again? Where will we see him again? Is he going to just kind of go out on a high note? And I mean, not a high note in his mind, I'm sure. Like a high note would be winning the Super Bowl. But yeah, just kind of going out the way that he wants. I don't know. So there's a lot of factors.
Yeah. I always thought when they said like, oh, they're just like coming up with excuses, but really they do know. But maybe he really doesn't. He really doesn't know. I know it's been a long journey for him. So
yeah. And I think too, like the hardest part for an athlete, not even is like should I stay on this team and go to this team? It's do I stop playing this sport that I have played for the majority of my life? And then it's, who am I without the sport kind of thing? Because that is just like, that's been your whole life for as long as you can remember.
Oh my gosh. So, no, I can't imagine what retiring really looks like for him. So I don't know. He's such an interesting person. So I'm curious to see what he ends up doing. But I think he should I'm always like, just retire, enjoy the time off. Like do something. I mean, I'm sure he's going to be involved in football one way or another. It's not like he's going to disappear from the game. It's interesting.
I did hear him, I think it was on the Pat McAfee show. I think he said like, when I retire, you guys will literally never see me again. Meaning like I'm not going to coach. I'm not going to be involved in football. I'm not going to be a broadcaster. Like I'm not going to do this. Which I found honestly like kind of on brand for him, because I do feel like
I could actually see Aaron Rodgers like going to a remote island.
He does disappear in the off season and like lays pretty low and just like golfs. I feel like that's
full
really
castaway beard.
Maybe. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's just there's so many variables to weigh, but we'll just have to wait and see, because it's probably going to get decided within the next like month or two. I'm sure after the Super Bowl.
We'll stay
ear to the ground.
We'll cover it. It never ends. The drama.
Okay, finally, in case you missed it, we just have to talk about this really quickly. Sports Illustrated named its 2024 Sports Person of the Year, and the honor went to none other than the GOAT herself, Miss Simone Biles, who won 3 gold medals and a silver in Paris. She'll receive the award later today in a ceremony hosted by actor Keegan-Michael Key in Las Vegas. So, am I surprised? No.
Ew.
Is it the obvious answer? Hell yes. She is the GOAT. She deserves it.
We can't get enough of Simone Biles. I love her.
Yeah. The year of female athletes, 2024.
I know. We got Caitlin Clark on the cover of Time. We got Simone Biles. I'm so here for it. I love it.
Yep. And it's just going to keep going. I love it. I love Simone. I do really want to be her friend, but I don't think that our like pictures would look good together, because I do think I'm like 2 feet taller than her. Literally.
Most people are.
Yeah, she's a very tiny girl.
She's very little. All her interviews, it's like she's.
I know she's just like.
I would still be friends with her. Maybe we just shift. Like maybe you pose behind her and all the.
Oh,
photos.
Okay. Yeah, use the distance.
Exactly. We use perspective so you don't look like a friendly giant next to her, or just sit.
Or better. Yeah, maybe
we
I'll
can
just
come up with ways to make you look fantastic and still be.
We
her
just
best
have
friend.
to first get. Yeah, we have to just first establish said friendship.
Becoming her BFF and get her on the podcast, and then we can all be biffles.
Easy.
Love that.
We continue this episode of Well Played, as we do every week, with our roundup of all the NFL action you need to be talking about. It is time for Tuesday Morning Quarterback.
Sunday night capped off with an unprecedented season for the Detroit Lions, who defeated division rival Minnesota in a convincing fashion. It was a 31-9 victory, gave them the division championship, the best record in the NFC, and a first-round bye. Meanwhile, the Vikings kind of got screwed, and they will take on the Rams the next week following a tough end to the season.
Yeah, that leaves the Lions as the Super Bowl favorites, according to odds makers, a distinction the team has never had in the Super Bowl era.
Who would have thought?
So, oh my God, the Lions are so hot. It is crazy. I actually think that most analysts were choosing the Vikings to win. And it was close for a while, and then it was just like,
and then they
started dominating. Yeah.
Yes.
It was crazy. I think they really kind of proved who they are and what they are capable of. And it is just, this is going to be a really fun playoff to watch, I think.
I agree. And I'm really excited. I'm here for the underdog, okay? And I've never been to the Super Bowl, and I'm really pumped. And who doesn't love or wants to hear another Dan Campbell speech? Everybody does. I did have a question. So did you think it was, and I don't know enough about like the history of the way the NFL does this, but I know they've been doing this for a while. But isn't it messed up that they both had the same record, the Lions and the Vikings, right? And the Lions, because they won their division, gets a bye and the number 1 seed, and the Vikings don't get a bye and have to play away. They get in a 5th round. Like, don't they get like? I don't know. I feel like that's whack.
I think it also just shows like how competitive the NFC is this year, because like you could have a really good record in the NFC and like still not be like like having the home field advantage or like yada yada. It's like the NFC is like very close.
And that's not normal, right?
Tough.
Like that doesn't happen that you have the same record, you know, that you're both like excellent teams going to the finals in your division. So
yeah, I wouldn't say I wouldn't say it's necessarily common, like in the sense of having the exact same record, but I would say like the end of the year they definitely try to meanwhile, they make the schedule well in advance, so it's kind of hard to predict what teams will be good and what teams will be bad when you're making the schedule in the off season. But like, for example, the Jets played the Dolphins last in the season because they were a divisional opponent, and also because like I think schedule makers thought it was going to be a very close, good matchup that would like be the game that got someone into the playoffs, which it almost was. Other than like but very interesting.
Yeah, and Sean wrote here the Vikings are the first team in league history to have 14 wins and then not win their own division. So we'll see how the Vikings do in the playoffs. But I am so happy for the Lions. I want to see them go all the way.
I also just have to say, like, the post-game locker room speeches, not just Dan Campbell, but like every player who got a game ball and then went up and like said something. I was so here for it. I can't remember the player's name. This is going to drive me crazy. Who went up there and was like, they tried to bury me, and like, I want to thank you guys because they can't bury something that was like grown in the dirt or something.
Hey, I mean it from the bottom of my heart, man. I appreciate y'all, man, because y'all gave me a chance to showcase what I could do when they tried to bury me, dog. But they can't bury what come from the dirt.
And the whole place
and everyone
was like,
just went crazy.
Yeah, and
it's so
I just
much
loved
hype.
it.
It gives me chills. Like listening to them, and just like these players are so passionate, and that's why I mean, obviously all the players work so hard, but like you just love to see them come out and be like, "This is why I work so hard." And I agree with you. I love watching those speeches. I'm just like, I get so jacked up.
Yeah, and like you're just that locker room just seems like so close and tight knit and like on
and positive,
and
supportive.
That, to me, I have always said, like, I've been a part in college. I was part of teams that had great culture and like not as talented rowers, and then there were teams that had terrible culture and like the most talented rowers, and it was always the culture teams that like outperformed, because it's just like when you're doing it for each other,
absolutely,
it's just a step in,
and
above
it's like
beyond.
Obvious too. You know, you can tell. So
oh yeah.
That's great.
So that will be very exciting.
Not every division was up for grabs heading into Sunday, but the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had more than one thing to play for in their game against the Saints this weekend.
Oh, this was so good. Okay, not only did the Bucs finish strong and take down the NFC South, they also helped wide receiver Mike Evans pull off a feat accomplished by only one other player in NFL history, Mr. Jerry Rice. Yeah. On his last play of the regular season, with just over 30 seconds left in the game, Evans caught a pass from Baker Mayfield, giving him over 1,000 receiving yards on the season, which is the 11th time in his career he's reached the milestone.
I love it. And it was awesome. So this game was pretty much over, but he caught it. the teammates went nuts. Like he was walking out of the field. They were jumping on him. They mobbed him. They seemed just as excited about this play and his catch that they did that they were winning the game and like anything else. So I think I had to rewind it and be like, wait, what's happening? What did I miss? I don't think I saw that he was going for 1,000 yards. So it was so fun to see. Also, he earned like a nice little $3.5 million bonus from that catch. So there's a little incentive for you.
Yeah, the incentives that players have to like hit in the last game, I'm always so interested in because it's always like, how many catches do you need? How many yards do you need?
I didn't know that was a thing until this year. I was like, I mean, I knew for your record you wanted them. I didn't know there was like a nice price tag attached to them.
Yeah.
So that's nice. I also was reading that like they made it happen. Like everyone knew it was happening, and they were just like, and just everyone was on board, and why not? Happy for you.
Yeah, I think the Buccaneers posted like a 15 slide Instagram carousel, and like half of them were videos of like his reaction, and then like post game getting congratulated. The play itself, I watched every single one. I was like, this keeps getting better and better and better. Like I could not get enough of it. He was like so happy, and all of his teammates, like every single one, came up to him and congratulated him. I was like, oh my God, that is like,
we're here for the sportsmanship and the team.
It's so much more than just like the actual game.
Oh yeah, that's why you love to see it. Like they didn't have to do that. You know, the game was over, and like clearly there was this like, this is for our boy. Let's all come together, and they did it, and it was great.
And
what a way to finish the season.
I think I read something on Twitter, probably. I can't remember the exact stat line or note, but it was something along the lines of like the last time he didn't have 1,000 receiving yards in a season was like in high school or something.
Of course,
like. He has just been so top of the pack for so long.
So this had to happen. So yeah, I'm glad he made it.
I'm honestly like now already looking forward to next season and him breaking the record because exactly. Because he already tied it. So it's like now he has to break it.
Exactly. Yeah. He will next year.
We continue the NFL portion of Tuesday Morning Quarterback with a summary of all the first round playoff matchups heading your way this weekend. Okay. So let's set the scene. The Chiefs and Lions secured first-round buys heading into the playoffs, so they'll take the week off.
Yep.
That means that Texans take on the Chargers this Saturday, followed by the Steelers and Ravens in primetime, which, hell yeah, I freaking love NFL Saturday football. This gets me, like, so jacked up. I don't know why I'm so excited for it to be on a Saturday, but I literally cannot wait. I love Saturday NFL football. Okay. Then Sunday, it will be the Bills and the Broncos, followed by the Eagles and Packers, and then the Bucks take on the Commanders. Then on Monday, the Vikings will travel to the Rams, like we said earlier.
So looking at all of these matchups and how they all shook out, what stands out to you? Who do you think is the favorite to make the Super Bowl? How are you feeling? Any like big shakeups you expect to see?
I don't know, because I just think that anything can happen in the playoffs. Obviously, like if you're a dominant team, you're going to kind of show up and show out. But like, I don't think that Bills and Broncos is going to be as even as people think it is. Like, I think the Broncos defense is really, really good, and they've shown that. So it's kind of like, all right, like that. And like Bo Nix has been playing really well as of late. So I think that's going to be something to keep our eye on. Not that like the Bills will lose it, but I just think it could be closer than people expect. I think Eagles, Packers, that's going to be a close game. Like, I know that they have played already, but I think it could be, there's something in store there. I think, I do have to say, like, Bucks Commanders, I could see that being a really close game. So I just think that there's a lot of close games, a lot of,
that makes it all exciting.
A lot of competition. Exactly.
That's what you want to see. I would love, listen, I don't know nearly as much as you about stats and like likability, like probabilities of them winning, but I will say that I would love to see, wouldn't it be fun to have like the Lions and the Bills, since the Lions have never been to the Super Bowl, having the Bills been in the Super Bowl and lost like several times. So I feel like their fan bases really deserve this, and it would be a fun final.
I think that's what a lot of people have circled on the bingo card as of right now, that matchup in the Super Bowl. I think that is also where I'm leaning. I'm like interested to see if the Vikings like come out and because they've played the Lions, like maybe they are like, okay, we know how to play them better this time.
True,
I don't know. So the tough game is always going to be, of course, if it ends up being this way, the Chiefs and the Bills. Like that is just, I know they have played also, they've already played each other this season, but like that game is just bound to be like a Super Bowl matchup, essentially. Yeah. So we shall see. But yeah, it would be great for both of those teams, both of those fan bases to be able to like get to the Super Bowl. And then, yeah, it would just be truly like anyone's game at that point.
Yeah. Well, this is the beauty about the playoffs. We have no idea.
Exactly.
And hopefully we get some really good games and then we can see what happens. But I'm here for the Lions just because of the underdog.
The one thing I will say is that I just hope and pray, and I know that like I'm already probably jinxing it by putting it into the atmosphere, is that we don't have like a really controversial call made by the refs that changes the outcome of a game, because then people are going to be so mad, A, at the refs, and then B, they're going to be like, this is why we shouldn't have like human refs. We need like all replays done this way by TVs. Exactly. No. So just
let's have a clear win. Yes.
Yep. Good, clear, concise football. That's all we ask for.
That. So we have one more football topic to discuss today, and that's the college football playoffs, which head into the semifinals this Thursday and Friday night. We got Penn State and Notre Dame. They're scoring off at the Orange Bowl Thursday night. That's 7:30 Eastern. And then on Friday, it'll be Texas and Ohio State at the Cotton Bowl. So Caroline, I know it pains you to talk about Ohio State, moving on the way they have, but who do you think we'll see in the national championship? Your face.
Man. Yeah, it's tough. But you know what? They've been playing at a very high level. So you know what? You kind of got to give it to them. And also, I will just say, like, let's say they happen to go on and win the national championship. I kind of would love it that this was the year that they do it and they still can't beat Michigan. The year that they're national champions. But anyways, okay.
There you go. I like that.
I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. But anyways, I think that a lot of people were kind of not shocked, maybe isn't the right word, but like Notre Dame played so well to get into the semis. So I was really impressed by that. And I know that Penn State has been really rolling as of late. So I think that game is going to be really, really close. Like I actually think it could be tied going into the last like 3 minutes, 2 minutes. And then it's just whoever manages the clock better or however it lands. Like I just think that I honestly think it could go into overtime because I think those teams like Penn State's offense is really good. Then of Notre Dame's defense being really good. So I think that it's going to really be a close game. Who do I think wins? I really don't know. I kind of am thinking that Penn State will pull it out, but maybe that's just the Big Ten girl at heart in me.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, I would be happy either way. I think both of those programs have been like crushing it this year. For Texas, Ohio State, I think everyone is picking Ohio State because they've been so dominant in the way that they've won the last few games. And then Texas like wasn't as dominant in the game to get to the semis. So I just think that they looked a little shaky maybe. And people are not sure what
as confident
they will actually look like. Yeah. So I will say, if I had to choose a winner, I'd probably choose Ohio State and Penn State going up against each other for the Natty, which, hell yeah, Big Ten, love to see it represent.
I know.
But I also just have to say that, like, all of these teams that are in the semifinals, not one of them won their conference. So, like, it's just such a clear indicator that, like, the way that the college football playoffs had been, like, decided and the format before this year, it was so desperate to go because like this year is like, I know that people are kind of like pissed because like, oh, this team should have gotten in or this team should have gotten here. But like, it clearly is just the team that is playing better is now winning and it's not the conference champion getting all of that.
It's interesting to see that. Also, I think people just like, I know there's like pros and cons, but I think people really like the way the way the games fell on like what days. And that's why I think viewership was through the roof, too, because it's just longer. It took longer to get us here.
Yes.
So it's interesting.
Yeah, because I'll even say, like, usually unless like it was last year when Michigan was making the national championship run,
right.
I am not like as like zoned in because there's just it's still during football.
There's a lot going on.
NFL season, so there's like a lot going on. And usually it happens, and then I'm like, oh my god, it's already over. So I think that like this format, the length of it, I'm a big fan. And I just think that there's not really any cons in my mind at the moment, other than Michigan not making it. But I mean,
I know.
neither here nor there.
But it's
fine. We had our year last year.
We're not talking.
We'll survive in advance. Yeah.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
But yeah, I am very excited to see kind of how it all unravels and goes. I will just say one more thing.
Yes.
This might really poke the bear with some people, but I just think it's so interesting how the year where like now you're allowed to pay players through NIL and all of that. Now it's just like there's not as dominant of a conference, right? Like the SEC used to be like the top dog, and it used to be like we produce all of the NFL players. We are superior. And now it's just like the playing field, I feel like, is more
interesting.
And I just am here for that because it's not like, okay, it's going to be Alabama 6 times or 6 years in a row.
Yeah,
It's not. It's just there's more variety, which I'm a big fan of too.
Oh, I think. But why do you think that having NIL? Why does that influence that?
Because I think with NIL, so it's not like. I am not saying. Let me make this very clear. I am not saying that. That they were paying SEC players before it was legal. I am not saying that. Let the record show. I'm just saying that I think typically students were going to the SEC schools because they saw the dominance. And so it was like, if I'm a top 50 high school recruit, I want to go to the SEC. Versus now it's like, okay, I might be able to go to the SEC and sit behind players for like 3 years, but I don't want to sit behind players because I know I'm really good. So I'm going to go to a different school where I can still get paid to go there and make money. Yeah. And then, but I get the starting job kind of thing. So, cause it's just,
I see what you're saying.
Notre Dame was carried mostly by transfers this year. So it's like a very
I see what you're saying. It does kind of, I see what you're saying. Okay. So it does kind of level the playing field because you don't have to necessarily go to like the historically major schools because you can still get paid and actually play at a different.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for clarifying that.
Anytime. It's time to close out the episode with a round of Send It. You know our favorite. It features 4 of our favorite viral moments from the week that you should be sending to your group chat. Claudia, since you're the guest, I'll let you go first. What do you want to highlight as the first Send It?
We're going to kick things off with like, I know you're not going to like it. You know, Sean, the producer, made us do it. But we're talking about the Dallas Cowboys cheerleader who took a football to the head, like straight up. This was during kickoff against the Commanders this Sunday. The clip went viral because, of course, kicker Brandon Aubrey sends one way out of bounds and the ball hits her in the back of the head. And I mean, I'm sure you've seen it by now, but this poor girl took it like a champ. And she, you know, it had to hurt. And like, I think, when you get hit and like tears just like come naturally, like without even trying, tears come out. So she had tears in her eyes, but she just laughed it off. So when you saw this, did you cry a little too? Because you know, this is your nightmare?
Yes, obviously. It is literally my biggest fear. But honestly, you know what it did remind me of? It gave me a little bit of a PTSD flashback of, I think it was last season, when I was on the sideline. I turned around quickly to like run to the other end of the field because I think it had just been after a kickoff or something. And our long snapper was snapping the ball to, practice on the sideline to our like placeholder who's going to hold it for our kicker to kick. And I didn't look. It was completely on me, not on him. I just did not look at my surroundings, and I started to walk, and he snapped it, and the ball snapped into my leg. So, like, here's the thing: he didn't even kick it. He did,
and it still hurt.
It wasn't full force. And he snapped the ball so hard. Oh my God. I think I was wearing a skirt too, or shorts. And I had like
no
an imprint.
Oof.
I had an imprint
yeah,
on my
I was
leg.
gonna say, did it bruise?
Oh my
God.
God.
Imagine if a straight up kick hit you like that?
Nope. So that's why
you just wouldn't get back
really
up.
Feeling
you just get
for her.
hit and like you just stay down and be like, I'm
I would
done.
just
Thank
be like,
you,
I'm gonna tap out. I'll see y'all maybe next year.
She was
So really felt for her, but she was a champ. She absolutely took it like a champ.
I went on Instagram and followed her, but not followed her, but saw her, and she just reposted everyone's clip. Like, girl, you okay? And she was laughing it off. So, oof, girl, I'm just happy it was the back of her head, because if it had been her face, that girl would have had a black eye. So,
no, or like a literal broken nose.
Or or worse, exactly.
Head on a swivel.
Take
Everyone,
care of yourself.
If you are on the sidelines, head on a swivel. Oh gosh, brutal. Okay, next up on Send It. This one qualifies as barely sports, but I just am so obsessed with it that
we love
I
this.
had to bring it up. So it's not really sports at all, unless you consider her a tennis player for her role in Challengers this year. But Zendaya is engaged to Spider-Man co-star Tom Holland.
We will take it. I love it.
At least allegedly, but all signs are pointing to yes. Rumors flew Sunday night at the Golden Globes when she was spotted wearing a massive diamond on her ring finger. And then on Monday, TMZ reported that sources confirmed the engagement to be real. So I know those two haven't come out and said anything directly, but I'm just
they haven't. But
I am here for it.
Oh my gosh, I love them individually. I love them, and together they're sweet, and I feel like they're humble, and I've always been rooting for them. I try not to get too, caught up in celebrity relationships, because obviously that's not as healthy. But I've been waiting for them to get engaged, and I'm hoping that they last and are happy together, because I feel like they're a very healthy relationship, and I love how supportive they are of each other. So when I saw that ring on her finger at the Golden Globes, I was like, what's that? And then I was hoping they'd say something, but they like to keep it in the download. So
they are very private. So I respect it. I won't try to stalk them that much, but I probably will.
But a little bit.
For sure. I saw a tweet that was talking about how this is going to be, their wedding will be a bigger event than the royal wedding. And I could not agree more.
What about Selena's wedding though? Because we've got 2 major engagements.
That's true. So I don't know. I just think that Tom Holland and Zendaya are our royalty for America.
Yes,
they're so perfect.
And they're both. Yeah, they are. They are perfect. They're beautiful. I love them.
They're beautiful. They're talented. They're funny.
They're kind. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Can we have them also on the show? We'll have Simone Biles.
Right? Okay. Yeah.
All right, so it's my turn to nominate another Send It. This one also comes from the Golden Globes. I'm sure you saw the footage of Dax Shepard and his wife, Kristen Bell. They were watching the Lions-Vikings game on his phone.
Incredible.
Literally live during the Globes ceremony. You could see Harrison Ford was presenting, and he's over there on his phone just streaming the game. And as you know, Dax is a Michigan native, so that's why he was watching the screen. Mm-hmm. But it's so funny. There's dedication to your team, and then there's dedication to your team. Mm-hmm. And this guy is committed. And so I thought that was hilarious. What did you think when you saw that?
I don't want to admit that I have also done this before. Not at the Golden Globes, obviously, but I had to go to a wedding last year that was being literally the same time as Michigan, Ohio State. Oh. And I was like, you're crazy if you think I'm not going to
Yeah.
I wasn't fully watching the game, but I was checking the score on my Apple Watch every 10 seconds. And then I would go back and I would enjoy the wedding. And then I would go back to the score. Totally. So I get it. And
when the Apple Watch is a little more discreet, because you could just be like,
Exactly. I was like, checking the time, But no, my dad actually did do this at my cousin's wedding 3 weeks ago when Navy and Army were playing, because he played football at the Naval Academy. And so he was literally actively watching the game during the ceremony. I was like,
during the ceremony? Oh,
what are we doing?
Yeah. Oh, no. Because the reception you can get away with. There's music. There's but the ceremony is a little different. This has happened so much. in my family, there's my husband is one of 3 boys, and they're all obsessed with football. And there's like a rule that like no one in the family could get married during football season, like in general. It's kind of extreme, but I've also been to weddings within the family where like if there's like any sort of screen, like in the men's bedroom, bathroom or something, like they have been known to just like somehow disappear for a bit, and everyone's just watching. Like Carolina, that's
hilarious.
That's my school, and we have a lot of Carolina fans. Like if they're ever in the Final Four or whatever, it's always been madness. So I understand it. I think he was pretty discreet about it. Yeah, we get it, and it was a big game. So
I'm here for it. Yeah, he's just let the man watch the game.
Yes.
Okay, some things are more important than the Golden Globes. All right, last Send It for the day. This one is a few days older than we usually allow on Send It, but we missed a few weeks, and it involves the patron saint of Send It, Mr. Cam Bynum. It's so good. So after yet another forced fumble by the team, which was scooped up by Bynum himself, several teammates made their way to the end zone for the latest choreographed celebration. This time, it was the High School Musical We're All in This Together dance. Zac Efron even posted it to his Instagram story with the caption, "Nailed it." So like, I can't get enough. Like the celebrations are so good.
I know. At this point, like this is the reason why we're all like, okay, what's he doing? What's happening now? So they're so good. And I think my favorite part of it is watching the behind the scenes footage of them practicing and like watching film and like nailing it. They are so dedicated, and they seem to be having so much fun doing it. I love that he came up with this and that he's kept with it. And their dances are legit. Like they're nailing it.
Oh yeah. And I just love how it's like slowly evolved from like solo celebration to 2 people to like 10
players.
people. And now it's like 10 of them all doing the same dance on the field. It's hilarious. I'm here for it.
They're going to bring in the entire team. It's going to be like a marching band, like doing like all kinds of
maybe. Wouldn't be surprised.
It's so good. I still think my favorite was the White Chicks one. Their dance was just so good. But they're all amazing. So props to you. Thank you, Cam, for bringing us so much joy.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what the playoffs bring for his level of defensive celebrations. Okay, so Claudia, which one was your favorite of the 4?
Ooh, I gotta go with our engagement. Because I love to see happy couple, and I wish them all the best. And also because the fact that they haven't said anything about it keeps us like on our toes. Like,
totally.
What's she gonna say? What are they gonna say? They're gonna post pictures.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm very happy for them, and I can't wait to see what their wedding is all about.
I know. I like really hope one of them posts like a video or like just even a picture. I'll take a picture of how it went down. Yeah, because I'm just desperate for any sort of details. But I'll be patient. Yeah. For me, I think that it had to be Dak Shepard just because relatable. Watching a football game when you're not supposed to be. And I just respect it. He was like, listen, I'm at a famous Hollywood studded event. Don't care. Gotta watch football. Sorry.
I know. It also makes it's just always a reminder that like these people are, it's like celebrities. They're just like us, and like in many ways they're not, but really in a lot of ways they are. And so
stars, they're just like us.
They all do things that you're like, maybe that's not the best idea, but I feel you, I get you. So I did enjoy seeing that, and like exactly, and that she was like, this is life. This is and she is also a fan. So I love that couple too. They make me happy.
I know, they're great. All right, well, that's it for this episode of Well Played presented by The Skim. We will be back next week in the studio with our beloved Blake Morgan returning from vacation. Can't wait for that when we'll recap all the first round playoff action. Claudia, thank you so much for hosting with me today. How did you like it?
Yes.
Do you think that you will be making some more guest appearances?
Oh, if you want me back, I'm here for it. I think this is so fun. This is so different from anything else I do. And I think the more I do it, the more practice I get. But I love chatting with you all. It's so fun. It's so easy to do. And it's I don't cover sports otherwise, or I haven't. So this is a little switch up for me. So thanks for having me.
It's been so fun. You were a star. Truly, you are welcomed back literally anytime.
Make it easy.
But yeah.
Yeah, guys, be sure to leave us a rating, a review, wherever you're listening. You can check out Well Played YouTube channel, please. We have the full-length episodes there every week. Just search Well Played by The Skim on YouTube. Until next time, thanks for listening to Well Played,
the only podcast in a league of its own.